Welcome to the Good News Bay podcast, where we are making Bay County brighter, one conversation at a time. Thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to say to you that if you're encouraged by the content and it brightens your day, it would help us tremendously if you would subscribe and you would share it with a friend. Today we have a wonderful guest who I have been excited to be able to share with you. He is iconic, I think, in Bay County. I hope I can say it that way.
Well, I've been called several things, but that's a good one.
That's one of the better ones?
Yeah.
Coach Wintson Chester, who is also a school board member.
Yes.
Since November of 2020.
Correct.
By way of biography, he's married to Gail. They have been married 52 years.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it is. And I couldn't be married without her grace and goodness to see something else.
Well, we love marriage around here, and when we see it done well, it's a beautiful thing. You got two grown children,
yes.
Wendy and Chip.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Wendy and Walter live in Tennessee.
Well, they lived here until 5 years ago, and Wendy taught school at Bay Haven, and all went there. And then 5 years ago, they moved up to Franklin, Tennessee.
Okay.
So, and then we go up there a lot to see them. You know, my grandson's in track right now, and we'll drive. This is a true story. He runs 800, so we'll drive up there 9 hours to watch him run 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Just to see him run track. But it's that kind of stuff, so we just love that. And Chip and his family are here. They live here, and Chip is in business with Ronnie Leake Landscaping, and his wife Jill teaches at Petronas.
Awesome.
So,
you also taught school for a few years. 44 years, was that
right?
Years.
I taught 3 years at Rutherford, and then when we built Mosley, I taught 41 years at Mosley. And I actually, the summer before, when Mosley was being built, I actually worked in construction because, you know, teachers and coaches always have to work in the summer. And I actually worked in construction at Mosley, and those big old beams in the gym, the big old steel beams.
Yes, sir.
I actually painted on it. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it for $1 million now. But on like a 30-foot ladder, we climbed up there and we painted them with a hand brush, all those beams like that. So those are special to me.
Well,
from the ground up.
You know, and we'll talk about another Mosley Dolphin here in just a little bit. I love all the schools in Bay County,
yeah.
But I am a Mosley Dolphin too.
Right.
And so I actually remember you from those days. Mm-hmm. Remembered you as a coach. You've done some really neat things, but among the things that I think the Mosley students have so much appreciated has been the outdoors program that you started there. And so, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and before we get to that, let me just mention I went there as a coach, and I moved to Panama City when I graduated from University of Florida. I wanted to work somewhere in the Panhandle, and you talking about how God sort of leads you in different ways and all. And I worked at the summer in the Department of Education in Tallahassee with one of my coaches. He said, go to Gainesville, have a big coaching clinic the first weekend of August, and just meet some coaches. And they had a big job board, so go down there, and I looked on the job board and said, here's a job in Miami, here's one in Daytona. I said, I don't want to go to South Florida. You know, I want to go to Panhandle. I'm born and raised here in Panhandle. And I saw a sign up there, a little thing said, Rutherford High School, see Jim Redfern. So, and here's just a huge student union full of coaches. So I go around looking, and I walk up the stairs and see a guy walking down the stairs that said, Coach Jim Redfern. Coach Redfern! And he looked at me, and I said, my name's Winston Chester, and I'm looking for a job. Standing on the stairs, and we talked, and you don't think God don't have a way of working things out. He basically hired me on the stairs. You can't do that now in hiring, but in those days, he said, this is Saturday morning. He said, only thing now, can you be at practice Monday morning? I said, yes, sir. And that's how I ended up in Panama City.
First introduction and probably on a handshake, right?
It was a handshake.
You know, before we get into the outdoor program, let me just say, because a couple of things I wanted to mention, in addition to all the school endeavors, we're going to take a segment of this and we'll talk about a little bit about Panhandle Outdoors, which is a show that you run for quite a while. I want people to know that the links to all of that and how they can find the show will be connected to it. If they hadn't found it, they need to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, I hope, that will be watching this. They're either new to the area or folks that perhaps visit the area. I got friends and family in the Alabama area, Georgia area, and some of those folks drive down here, and they're going to want to know what's biting. So hopefully we'll get to that.
Yeah, we can tell you that now.
So we're thrilled that you're here. You also, and by the way, there's a book that you wrote called Full Box.
Yes.
And it is the 100-year history of fishing in Bay County.
Yes.
And so you did some research on that. That's also going to be fascinating. I bet we can put a link somewhere with a title to that so that people could know how to find it.
Yes.
Because that's a whole bunch of different stories we probably can't get into. But
wow, we could do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could.
Well, tell me about the beginning of the outdoor program that started, and I hate to say I'm bitter about this. I'm a preacher. I'm not supposed to be bitter. It started in 1993, and I graduated in 92, and so I missed it. But
well, here's the basic premise. We had to wait till Steve got out of Mosley before we could start the program out there. It had been in the back of my mind for a while. I grew up in outdoors. My dad took my brother and I hunting and fishing, and I remember tagging along with a little BB gun. He let me shoot at a squirrel, and I barely could hit the tree, but caught fish. And my dad was an outdoorsman, and he was just a good Christian man, and my granddad. So it was passed down, and a little area we fished was Teloja Creek, and before my dad passed away, I was able to take him fishing there one last time in that same creek that he grew up on.
Did you saltwater fish as a child too?
I did not. We did not do the saltwater fishing. We came down to the island, the St. George Island sometimes, and act like we knew what we were doing, but we didn't.
Okay.
So anyway, so the outdoors is big, and so anyway, I knew, and it was big to us growing up. So I wanted to put a class together, and I didn't, I just started thinking about what I enjoyed growing up. I enjoyed hunting, fishing, all that. And I just started putting stuff together. I started just rolling. I prayed about it, and so the principal at the time was Larry Bollinger. I said, what do you think? I laid it on the bed. I said, can I? You think I can teach this next year? He looked at it. He said 3 words. He said, go for it. And so that was all I needed. So anyway, I put it together. The first class, I told the kids about it. The first class I had, the only one that wanted to sign up was 12 boys signed up. I'll never forget it because I called them a dirty dozen. Out of those 12 boys, I went up to the principal down. There's an interesting group of 12 people. One's the principal at Vernon, but all kind of neat stuff. And none of the girls want to take it. They said, you can teach a Redneck 101. I said, well, if you want to call it that, but it's outdoor stuff. So the next year, what we started doing, we had a little fish fry, and they started cooking deer sausage behind the gym, and a little fish fry, and they'd be looking behind the gym. What are you doing? What class is that? Because we cooking. They just smell it in the gym, and they'll come out. So it just caught on. And we it went from those 12 boys to the point where we were getting about 80% of the senior class taking it.
Well, I moved away for a little while after school and seminary and that kind of thing, and pastored some in Jacksonville. But when I moved back in 2007 and started working some with teenagers, they would talk to me about this outdoor ed class. I said, what do you do in that class? Because I don't remember it. And they talk about kayaking.
Well, that's the beauty of it. The same thing on a TV show. The outdoors is not just hunting and fishing. I mean, we throw a net. We do the archery in it. We read tracks. We put tracks down and let the kids do it. We go orienteering. We set up tents and set up camps. Everything you enjoy doing. I'll never forget one year we did a camping unit, and there were like 4 or 5 girls that set up the tents and all. Yeah. And they said, we're going camping this weekend. They'd never camped before in their life, but they went out to State Park and had a great camping experience, and came back Monday and showed me all kind of pictures of them camping. So,
well, and over the years, you've had so many students that have experienced the outdoors through that program in a way that they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I understand you had a thing called a story stick, and on Monday mornings, and maybe you, huh?
You know all the details. Yeah,
I did my homework on you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So tell me about the story stick.
That was funny how that worked out. And I love teenagers. I've spent my whole life with 17, 18-year-olds as a coach and as a teacher, and I just get along with them. And so I wanted to encourage them to do outdoor stuff. And so some of them come back and tell about it, but then people started talking and all that. And I said, wait a minute. So I came up with this story, and I went back to Lewis and Clark days, with the buffalo and all that, and the Native Americans with the buffalo, they would get, after they shot the buffalo, they'd get around a big campfire, and everybody had to be quiet and listen to the story. And if you weren't quiet, then the evil spirits were going to visit you the next time, So I told a long, elongated story. I sort of stretched out a little bit, but we started passing the story stick, and you could not talk until you had the story stick. And it was always, at first it was a little, I didn't do anything. And then, I did something. So everybody told their story on Monday morning, story stick time. So I still have that story stick at the house.
That is terrific. I know that because this week I've asked around with some of our both college students and some that are young adults now, and what they remembered, and it was always a class, and it helps. I think it makes you feel good to hear this. It should, and I know there's some people that are watching that remember it, but The fact is that it wasn't just guys or girls. They all enjoyed and looked forward, I guess as a senior, to taking that class.
That's something else in my marketing scheme. Because seniors are special, so I made it a senior class because you can't take it unless you're a senior, and I knew that. So I think that helped it evolve and all. But I didn't want to. But also, I used that with our principal. I said, this is dropout prevention. I actually had mothers tell me that their kids stayed at Mosley, didn't drop out so they could take outdoor ed. So,
well, let me ask you this. So you retired a few years back.
Yes.
And then we had a hurricane. You retired before the hurricane, right?
Yes.
So we had a hurricane, then the pandemic came on, and as I read it, November 2020 is when you were elected onto the school board.
Yes.
Which is mid-pandemic.
Yes.
And I don't want to tell you you're crazy, but that is a crazy time to run for office,
yes.
Especially with school board.
Yes.
Why did you do it?
I've always wanted to help young people. And when I wasn't teaching anymore, although I'm doing a TV show and having students of the month and that, I still have a yearning to help young people. And that was a venue I had. I have no, it's been a challenge, and I'm so glad. But it's just something that I feel good about, and I know we're going to help people. I know that we're going to help our students, and we're going to help our teachers and our whole staff. We're going to help them.
That is awesome. I'm grateful to have men like you. Leaders like you in our community that have loved it and lived here for so long, that are respected by so many of the younger ones as well, and want to continue to contribute even during a struggle, because these have been some tough times. As we were talking through your bio, I learned something about you that you didn't mention, and I didn't know. You actually went to the University of Florida on a football scholarship, didn't you?
I did. I was blessed. My parents couldn't afford to send me to school, and I had some little bit of talent. My brother better athlete than I was, but anyway, the timing was good, and I signed with the Gators, and we had a freshman year, and back then we had a freshman team. We had a really good freshman year. I'm not bragging, but I mean it was a healthy, good year. And my roommate, and some of y'all know, my roommate was a guy named Jack Youngblood, who ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh.
And he and I signed within 2 hours of each other. Just a great guy, but I got injured at the end of my freshman year in spring practice, and this is something I'd had some concussions and the doctors at Shands told the coaches they didn't think I should play anymore. That shows what kind of vision they had way back in the '60s to say, hey, and they said he's fine now. I guess I'm fine now, but anyway. So, but you know what happened? You're talking about prayer being answered, because I was at 19ish, and I was back then the Vietnam War was going on. I was going to be. If I didn't go to school, I was going to join a Green Beret because of that song, and I was going to Vietnam, and I was going to be one of the point men at midnight.
Yep.
And their lifespan, as I read back later, was about 3 days. And if I didn't keep my scholarship, that's where I was going to go. But I went on a Monday afternoon and talked to Ray Graves, and I never will forget. He was the head coach at the time. He said, "Son, you're doing good for us this year, and we're going to keep you on scholarship." So they kept me on football scholarship for 4 years, and that's how I got my degree. And I'll always be, always grateful for the University of Florida for what they did.
I just think that's a neat fact for folks that didn't know that about our very own Coach Chester. Let's talk about school just a little bit.
Okay.
Everybody knows that people are moving to Florida. People are moving to Bay County. All the different municipalities, they're coming, really all over Northwest Florida. As we try to keep pace, there's rebuilding happening after the hurricane. We talked just a moment before. I know that there's been a lot of building out kind of towards the northeast side of town, out 231. Are there any, is that being thought about?
Yes, we got a huge growth spurt going up 231. And, we have Bozeman going up 77, and there's room for it to expand so it can absorb. And then we have Arnold out there, and it can absorb more people. But we're going to have to come up with some kind of plan. We do have plans in the making. And I foresee a high school up somewhere up 231 somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but I could see another one.
Well, I know as 390 is, it looks like it's going to be 6-laned, and you look at all the homes that are going in. Part of that infrastructure is making sure you got a place to house all these folks.
Yes.
So the growth is exciting. Talk a little bit about. I know it's a soft spot, a good spot with you. The technical and vocational schools here locally.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for a lot of people we don't get to talk a lot about. So tell us something about that.
The technical schools, Haney, I just got off the phone with Alex Murphy this morning. I believe the Murphys go to your church, and she was.
They're good friends.
They're friends of you. Okay,
Yeah.
well, they're good friends of ours, and we I always touch base with her what's going on, and I've had her on the show talking about just Haney.
They do a good job.
About Haney this, Haney that, and what's going on there just is phenomenal. The growth is, I mean, the placement, they're placing the nurses and all, getting 90% placement just like that. The welding class, 100%. I mean, and they're jumping in jobs right and left. The problem they're starting to have is some of these people are just starting the programs and they're getting offered money to leave the electrician program and getting paid more before they finish the class.
Right.
So this is good. I mean, you know, and they've got the computer program. It's a 9-month program, and the big thing they got student aid. They got money to help people out. So I mean, if you don't have the money, they got a way to help you. So
well, they're doing some great things there. I know in some of the conversations I've had over the last several years, and I've heard you mention this. If I say it differently than you would, please tell me. But I know that we know that not every student's going to go to college. I mean, we certainly, both you and I, affirm education. We've got education. But we also know that there are some really strong needs for tradesmen and people that are doing things other than the going to college side of it. And people should know that there's an option. And the upside to that is when you live in a community that over time has had some folks that haven't been able to find a job or to have the skills in a different area. This is a great opportunity for kids coming through high schools, right?
You nailed it. That's exactly what's going on right now. And they can go through these programs and get a job right away. And you know the job's out there. I mean, every block you see help wanted. And, and they can get some good training.
Well, hopefully we can even, I don't know how many links we can put in, but maybe we can put one in about Haney's where they can click
and
there.
Panama City Marine Institute is coming down the line soon, and then we have a drone program coming in.
Tell me about the Marine Institute. What is that for people that don't know?
They're going to do a lot of things in the marine industry. A lot of things there. They're actually have some drone classes out there. Ron Boyce, executive director. There's going to be an academy, and it's going to be they've been there a while. But now they're really sort of dressing up as far as getting everything legitimate for all kind of classes and all. It's going to be a good deal.
That's awesome. I personally believe that one of the things that is a positive that we ought to be looking at is that we've gotten through so much of the preliminary and the planning stages that have been required after things get blown over and destroyed, whether you're talking about schools or whether you're talking about municipalities with utilities and all these things. We're finally, I think, getting to the place where we're actually starting to see things get approved and get to the place where we can start seeing it.
Yes.
Is that a fair assessment on the educational side?
Yes, it is. Yes, the repairs are made to a lot of schools, and I mean most of the schools are running. We have some of them still down, but the repairs have been made and have been some good improvements. They really have been.
Some are complete and others are coming, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think we're seeing the same as you talk like Marine Institute. It's many of us are. I mean, everybody's not got their home rebuilt yet, right? But many people have. And even in this year, I see people moving back into their homes or coming out of COVID to some extent, which is great. And now I think we're starting to see that we can run on all cylinders.
Yes.
And that part to me is quite exciting. Let's talk a little bit. Let's change gears and talk outdoors. Panhandle Outdoors.
Okay.
You've been doing that for a little while. Tell us about your show.
Well, it's something Captain Ray and I started doing. I was doing it before, 5:30 in the morning, do it before school, and then I go to school and do it, and then so I started looking about how long I've been doing it. It's been about 15 years doing it.
Wow.
We do 260 shows a year. But I've been doing it by myself for like 12 years. And don't ask me how I do it because I'm not sure. But I just have a lot of Gail's very supportive and Jeff's supportive, and the guests I have on there. I just have a lot of special guests on there, and then people here love the outdoors.
But you had Mayor Brudnicki on a couple of weeks back, didn't you?
Listen, when I'm head off to Franklin, Tennessee or something, I have to have my sub. As a teacher, we have subs. So I have my Panhandle Outdoor sub, and Greg Brudnicki's on my list, and he's a good fisherman. Bill and Greg come on the show, and they, in fact, last week they were on the show, and they're just gone 2 days in a row, speckled trout fishing, red fishing, and they caught some fine fish.
I saw some pictures.
Okay, you saw the pictures?
I did.
You know, they're trying to do the GoPros, but they're not technologically advanced enough to get a GoPro video, but they're good.
So that show, if they're looking at like regular television, that comes on 5:30, 5 days a week, Fox 28.
Yes.
All right.
And then Jeff, my producer, right after the show ends, he puts it on YouTube.
Right.
So we get several hundred people a day watching on YouTube.
So some people will be listening to this that may not have heard the show. Others will be watching it on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah.
We're making this available there.
Yes.
So there are going to be some folks that are in the Alabama and Georgia area, some folks that are other places, the Panhandle. And so they need to know, they can find out seasonally what the bite is.
That's true now. We keep up with that.
So they need to check it out to see what's in season. So let's say May's coming, or May's on us, May, June. Let's say I'm an outdoorsman and I'm watching this. I'm gonna be coming down to the beaches. What's running? Are the Spanish running?
Here's what's going on. Let's do freshwater first.
Yes, sir.
May is always the special month because, again, I refer to my dad. He loved the full moon of May. 3 days before the full moon and 3 days after. He always caught brim. That was his big deal, the full moon of May.
Hang on just a second. If you did not notice, he wrote a history book on fishing in Bay County, and he just said the full moon of May is it 3 days before, 3 days after.
That was my dad.
If you're, I'm not calling you an old timer, but if you're looking for old timers' wisdom, I mean, us young guys want all the technical. I say young guys, I'm not young anymore, but the technical stuff. But this right here is hard to come by.
Case in point. Okay, yesterday we were on the pier, the city pier or out of the county pier with the Mosley Outdoors kids. Okay, you know, all the electronics we have now in fishing, you know, the side scan, you know, all those electronics. So we're out there and the kids not catching anything, but having a good time. And I'm sort of almost to the end of the pier, and I look to my right and I see birds. And then I see birds, boom. The old timers would tell us that when those birds are diving, that means the predator fish are driving the bait fish to the top, and birds are diving. I said, okay, kids, okay, y'all get ready. And sure enough, they came close, and those kids just, you know, Monday shows they were catching Spanish mackerel right and left.
So on Monday, y'all should have picked up. Y'all need to rewind it and pick up that tip
okay,
right there.
The video will be there.
But the video on Monday on your show will be the outdoor ed
field
students on the field trip.
Yeah.
What I love about your show is that you, over the years when I've watched it, I've noticed that you consistently talk about families. You talk about outdoor experiences. You encourage that, and there's these tips about the different times of year.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly important for people that don't have outdoors experience. They come to Panama City, they're trying to figure out, I mean, we watch them, they go into Walmart and they buy all the surf gear and but they don't know what they're doing. And so, I mean, they may, but like, if for that person that's watching, that wants to catch something, I know I looked up at, you got a couple of sponsors that I think, the Blue Water Outriggers.
Yes, good folks.
And C&G are both places locally. Blue Water Outriggers is in the St. Joe area. They could not only sell you some stuff, but they could get you the right information.
Oh yeah, good folks down there.
And then the folks at C&G, man, that's a landmark locally.
I'll say, yeah.
But they also would provide some information. And there probably are some other local stores as well that we love that could encourage.
Yeah, and that's good to go to local tackle stores always. But let me finish up what you were asking about the salt water now. What goes on in salt water? Here's how it lines up. Okay, March is the first run, the Spanish mackerel, and what old timers would say, the third fog of March. And you know, I talked to them. What do you mean third fog of March? You know how when you're talking to older people, you don't think they don't know what we're talking about. And listen, I started gauging that, and what it is water temperature. Basically, when the water temperature gets up, it starts getting foggy in March. And over the last 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, it is so true. The Spanish mackerel.
I hate to write on the show.
The third fog of March.
I
swear, it's within a couple of days every year of that. And then so you have to okay, that comes in first. Then the pompano come in, and that might be one of my favorite fishing, pompano.
That's surf fishing typically,
that's April,
right?
Yeah, April, yes, surf fishing mainly.
Okay.
And I used to surf fish. I didn't have enough money to buy a boat, so I was a good surf fisherman. I learned how to surf fish good. So you got Spanish, you got pompano, and then the Kobe and King mackerel are coming in May and June. And of course, speckled trout and redfish will be here most of the time, off and on. But that when they're coming in and making those runs, that's a lot of fun.
Did you teach this in your class?
Yeah, I don't know if they paid attention, but I did teach it. Man, I did the fishermen. They did.
I missed out on. You know how many fish I could have caught all these years?
I know. Well, if you watch Panhandle Outdoors, we're talking about it.
I should have been watching. I love it. That is cool.
Yeah.
Listen, I wanna change gears again if we can. One of your students, and one of my students, because he was a teenager in our student ministry back when I was working with teenagers and some of the ones at Mosley.
Yeah.
He's trying to make a difference in Bay County. We've raised these kids to believe they can make a difference. I'm proud as I can be of him, and so I'm gonna ask Blake Southerland to come join us.
All right.
This is Blake Southerland. And I hope I don't get you in trouble by telling everybody your nickname was Natural Born Killer in high school. He shoots and he fishes. He's just got natural instincts.
You understand his family legacy. I mean, it's been passed down, the outdoorsman in his family.
He has had amazing men in his family that have shown him some incredible stuff that is it takes a lot of generations to actually learn.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit. I wanted to talk about this bass tournament that's coming up May 1st. Camo Dreams. It's a charity bass tournament. I also want to say, because it's a part of a bigger series, that you do the not so serious Saturday tournaments. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Deer Point Lake? Yeah, talk to me.
So, and I can't take all the credit. I got to give credit to a buddy of mine, James Cottingham. It was his idea. He approached me one night at softball, and we've always been friends, but he was like, hey man, thinking about starting a bass tournament trail. He knew I loved to bass fish and fish all the tournaments around town, and he was like, but I kind of want to make it different than the other ones, because most of your tournaments are a safe flight to 3 o'clock, generally speaking, for the most part. And most of those tournaments are a pretty good buy-in. I mean, it's a good little chunk of money, $100 a lot of times, and a lot of times, some people just don't want to fish all day, especially if the fishing's tough. And he was like, I want to do one that's shorter.
Hey, they might want to fish all day, but the rest of the family might not
Exactly.
be okay with
That's
it.
exactly right. The wife might want them to cut the grass or something.
That's right.
And so, like, as we talked about it, I was like, I think a lot more people would want to bring, like, their kids to it. And so last year we started we called it the Not So Serious Saturday Tournament. And it wasn't a knock at other tournaments. It was just, it's real relaxed. And
There's a lot more. I saw a lot more kids.
Yeah, a cheap buy-in. We let kids fish for free. And so, like, if it was 2 adults and they wanted their kid to fish with them, we'd let them have a third person in the boat if it was a kid, like, under 11 or 12 years old, And it was only safe flight to 10:30 was last year. This year we bumped it up to 11. And so safe flight to 11 o'clock. So just a few hours, get out there, cheap entry fee, $25 a person. And we've had tons of kids. And last year I was telling him, a lot of tournaments, you got to have a working live well. There's restrictions on going into it.
Right.
Well, last year we had a couple kids approach us, and one of them has been on Coach Chester's show, and all they had was kayak to fish out of. And I was like, man, I don't care if you bring a surfboard. If you want to come fish, just come fish. And they came out to every tournament in their kayak, and every tournament they weighed in fish out of their kayak.
That's cool.
And some of the big fancy bass boats didn't even weigh anything in. So I thought that was awesome.
That's cool.
So, as the month of May, that month, the tournament that is special related to the series is a not-for-profit tournament. All the proceeds go to a charity.
Yep.
Camo Dreams.
So last year as the tournament, it got way bigger than we ever anticipated it getting. And I said, we both had the idea, like, we ought to do like a fundraiser tournament. And there's an organization in town called Camo Dreams, and it's ran by a gentleman named Derek Fussell.
Yep.
And I know Derek through just friend of a friend of a friend, and we became friends through that. And he started this organization just really out of the goodness of his heart, to be honest with you. And it's they take terminally ill or disabled or just kids having a hard time. They take them on the hunting or fishing trip of a lifetime. They foot the whole bill. They put the family up somewhere to stay, take care of taxidermy work, everything, outfit them with gear. And so we were like, we approached them about doing it, and they were like, heck yeah, like, that'd be awesome. And so
that tournament is proceeds go to that safe flight till noon.
Safe flight to noon. And so the entry is $80, and $30 of that goes straight to Camo Dreams. And then this year we've also got a food truck coming, so we're going to be selling plates. All of that goes straight to Camo Dreams. And then we do door prizes. So we've got tons, and
they
30
could,
door
if they
prizes.
can't fish the tournament, they could just come to
Yeah,
weigh
they could come to weigh in. We're going to have food, music, and last year tons of people brought their families out, and you can buy raffle tickets for $5 for $30, and that's really how we made a lot of the money last year for them. And last year we were able to raise around $2,500, and I think this year we're going to be closer to about $5,000.
I hope so.
From what we're looking at.
They got all kind of gadgets, from what I understand, to help these kids that have some disabilities, dreams come
true. And we'll
have
we'll have someone there like giving their testimony about what Camo Dreams did for him and their family.
Right.
And then Derek will also be there kind of explaining what Camo Dreams is. And
we're going to put a link on here for them to be able to click on to get more information, both about the not so serious bass fishing. I don't know why I'm saying that, man, bringing people to my home late, but and then also about the Camo Dreams tournament. Coach, isn't it cool to see people that were your students doing cool stuff?
This is special when a young man like this doing things, but you know what? It sort of runs in the outdoor family. A lot of outdoorsmen do things like this, and this is special that his age be doing it. I participate every year down in Carabel at a Sea Quarters tournament, and the man that runs it, he lost his daughter to leukemia years ago, and he promised her he would help her find a cure for it. And I fish it with some friends from Valdosta every year. This past year, before the pandemic, they presented a check to the Leukemia Research Foundation. This is Carabel now. The last one they did, year before last, that check brought them over $1 million over the last 15 years.
Out of Carabel.
These fishermen out of Carabel, Tallahassee, South Georgia. Yeah. And that's the kind of hearts these people have. Yep. And that's the beauty of the outdoors. We're all in it to help each other.
There's still good stuff
we did a show one time together. We fished the Elizabeth Bottom. That last name gets me. Bottom. But their child passed away in a drowning incident, and they raised money for swim lessons for the Boys and Girls Club.
Local.
And we actually got to do a show together doing that. So we
do it every year at Sunjammers, and
it's a big
tournament. All that money goes to kids learn a swim program.
Have you fellas, this isn't in the script, but have you fellas noticed, like I have, that during the pandemic when we had to be isolated, that the outdoors was a relief. It was a place we could relax.
Yes.
And
over
it felt normal when nothing else has felt normal.
Yes.
Have you noticed also that like none of the other, like the outdoors, the pollen when it comes, which may not be good, but for me it says, hey, the bass are getting ready to bed.
There you go.
Right? And so do we see these different seasons change? The rut came no matter what. It didn't care about the hurricane. It didn't care about the pandemic.
That's right.
And the same is true with all spring turkey season. Those have not been, it reminds us that there's a steady calm. And I want to point it to faith, honestly, and how God is at work in in the universe, and He's at work in the world still in creation, even when we think it's all just out of control. Yeah. If we turn the media off and we go outside, all of a sudden it seems a lot less chaotic.
Some of the most moments I've felt close to God in my lifetime have been in the outdoors, and it's just me, and maybe me in a tree stand, or me way back in a creek, or 40 miles offshore as the sun's going down. But you get that special closeness, and you see that sunset. This didn't just happen. God gave this to us, and that's why there's so many outdoorsmen. We take care of our environment. It's a gift from God. Our woods, we plant trees, and we do all kinds of things, and it's a special.
Is it fair to say, Coach, that your value for the outdoors and for the environment is informed by your faith? Your belief in God, and yes. I know you're an active member at Lynn Haven United Methodist, and so I know you're active, but also it informs what you believe about all the rest of it, right?
Oh yes, and it's great to have fellow outdoorsmen who are Christians. And I was speaking of this tournament. Let me tell you real quick. My two buddies I fished with from Valdosta, who I met at a boat ramp 20 years ago, and we became friends because they're younger than me. But we won a tournament years ago, and we won $10,000. But it was a Saturday and Sunday tournament, and I'm not a Sunday kind of outdoor guy, but on occasion, but we get up on Sunday morning and we have a devotional and we pray and we wanted that, and those guys that fished against, they said that's not fair. When it got back to the weigh-in, y'all had God on your side, and that's why y'all won. Because I said y'all can stay in and do church with us before we took the boat out, So it was cool.
Let's talk just for a minute as we get to a close. We have gotten past lots of I don't know if the right word is tumultuous. There's been a lot of talk about education locally recently, but I think what we all can agree on is that teachers matter. It has been so hard. My wife's a teacher. My mama was a teacher. We got a lot of teachers in the church. You guys are teachers matter, and nothing's been easy lately, but teaching certainly hadn't been. I think this is a great time to remind teachers that Teacher Appreciation Week's coming. Isn't that?
Yes.
Do you know the dates on that?
Well, it's coming up, I think, in two weeks. I think
May 3rd, I think, through the 7th.
Yeah, but and I want to tell people we should not only just have a week, we should have a year of teacher appreciation. I know a lot of folks out there how much they feel about the teachers, but as a teacher, our teachers are hurting now. I mean, they are, and we got to do all we can, and any little thing you can do to show appreciation. And we mentioned about we started doing a fish fry.
Yep.
And the outdoor class was doing it. The first one we did was back a couple years after you graduated, and I said, all right, fellas and girls, we're gonna have a fish fry for our teachers and appreciation. And a couple of them looked at me, what? Oh, you mean for Miss So and So? She's mean. I said, I love that. I'm gonna go tell Miss So and So thank you for keeping you in line. So but
there
it became
go.
and it grew, and now at Mosley it's like 200. We feed 200 teachers and staff and all.
Wow.
But in fact, it was so popular. I'd be going during the summer, and all the teachers came back the first day. Would want to say, hey, what you been doing this summer and all that. They'd come up to, when's the fish fry? They wouldn't ask about my summer. They want to know when the fish fry is going to be this year. I said, my summer was good.
Well, having dealt with a few administrators as we've done a variety of different things in schools, we have learned that the principals really want to do all that they can to show that love to those students during that week. I know as a church, one of the things we're doing is I think we've got, I wrote them down, but I know Cherry Street's a place that we're going to be doing some food at.
Right.
I think at Mowat and
Right.
Glen Haven and a couple of other places. And so, but if we're, for instance, doing a breakfast, they may have somebody else coming in and do lunch, and they'll try to do that all week. So what I was hoping to do by bringing this up is tell people that it's a great time to think about teachers. In fact, I actually asked one of our assistants that does a lot of this call and said if they wanted to call and say, what can I do to tell the teachers I love them? One of the things you might be able to do is actually call the school. Somebody's going to answer the phone as a receptionist. And when they answer, you can say, hey, thank you for what you do for the children in Bay County. I want to do something to love on the teachers. And I promise you, they will get you to somebody that can show you how maybe your business could provide lunch.
Yes.
And they could say lunch provided by so-and-so, and they'll know that business loves teachers in Bay County. Or it could be a church or some other civic group. But if you just happen to be a parent, like I know that personal notes mean a lot.
I was going to go there, yes.
So even as a former teacher, I mean, notes mean something.
Well, I was going to go there. I'm glad you brought it up. And at the end of the year, when you get a note from a kid and it's handwritten and all, that's want to encourage you. I know elementary kids are good about doing it, but as you get older, not many kids do it. But when you get high school kids, leave your note and all, it's special. I still have a stack of notes of all of them that have been sent to me. It's a stack this high, and it's just special. And my daughter, every year at the end of the school year, she'll call me that last day and she'll read her notes. And we're both, the little 6th grade kids, tell them, Miss Woodruff, those kind of things. So those notes are special. So if you can just get them write a little note.
Super.
Special. Yeah.
Well, and we know this. The only perfect person that's ever lived is Jesus Christ.
Right.
Right? That means I'm not perfect. I know some of the teachers aren't perfect. The students, parents hear this, the students aren't perfect either. But you know what? There's very few people that I can't find, and I'm not even sure there's any, that I can't find something positive or that I'm grateful for. And so highlight those things. Listen, as we close up this episode of Good News Bay, I want to remind you that we're trying to make Bay County brighter one conversation at a time. I hope that you'll share some good news this week. I hope that you'll be a part of what's right in Bay County. Coach Chester, thank you so much for being our guest today. Blake, we're looking forward to the tournament. We hope the turnout is great. And hopefully there'll be some people tuning into Panhandle Outdoors to get some more fishing scoop in addition to the third
fog.
Third fog. Yeah, there you go.
Steve, let me interject and say this. I appreciate you doing this and your staff. And this is special. Our county, our community needs this. And I just appreciate you doing it. It means a lot to us.
Thank you,
so
Coach.
I want to thank you for doing it. And one other thing, now that I've come on your show, you're going to come on my show, and we're going to talk about bass fishing, because he's a bass. He's a. I don't know if y'all know about.
He tries to keep it a secret, but he
can catch some bass now. So
I like to catch bass. I don't know that I'm good at it, but I like to learn, and I've learned some things today that are going to help me moving forward.
Okay.
I'd be happy to come learn some stuff. Absolutely. Listen, like it, share it, make Bay County brighter. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for listening to our podcast today. If you were encouraged by the good news, we would ask you to subscribe through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcast, as well as YouTube. If you will subscribe, all new content will come your way. You'll get notified of it, and it'll help us to brighten Bay County. Thanks, guys.